Malinin was flat on his back, limbs splayed across the frozen surface in total surrender. A mop of blonde hair tumbled over the hood of his dark sweatshirt, while his black boots laced up with thick crimson cords swung idly in the empty air. Even the world's premier skater isn't immune to gravity. He had just missed the rotation by a hair, failing to lock into that crucial right outside edge. In this sport, a microscopic error torpedoes the entire stunt. It is savage, he admitted, flashing a knowing grin. One tiny slip creates a world of hurt. The spill itself wasn't particularly violent, but for the man hitting the deck, the sting was real. Witnessing Malinin wipe out feels as jarring as watching Simone Biles stumble on the mat or seeing a Victor Wembanyama slam dunk rattle out of the rim. Yet, hitting the ground is the admission price for elite athletes chasing perfection, and Malinin is no exception. The rink is an unyielding, frigid adversary, tough enough to crack even the hardest spirits. It exacts a heavy toll for the smallest lapses and demands absolute focus, mocking anyone who dares to be casual. Malinin hears those whispers loud and clear. This time, he simply let gravity take him, sliding slowly across the sheet while staring up at the rafters of the Great Park Ice 5-point arena. A dull frustration clouded his blue eyes. It is a rare glimpse of vulnerability that few will witness, certainly not when he steps into the global spotlight at the Olympics this month. However, this moment of defeat is exactly why he is destined for superstardom in Milan. This is why the Quad God, a title he seized by mastering the 4-rotation jump, is about to become a household legend. He consistently chooses danger over security, gambling on the impossible rather than settling for the safe bet. He operates far beyond the comfort zone, in a league of his own. That drive is what brought him to California in mid-December, 2,600 miles from his Virginia base, clad in black and drilling routines until his tank was empty. During a single Tuesday afternoon session, he hit the deck 3 times, not to mention a handful of aborted takeoffs. Every single crash came while attempting the quadruple axel. After every spill, Malinin would glide over to the boards to confer with his coach, Rafael Arutunyan, while his father, Roman Skorniakov, looked on. His dad helps train him too. The huddles were brief, 60 seconds or so before Malinin would wheel away to attack the jump again and again. I broke down the reasoning for him, explained Arutunyan, a veteran who has been molding skaters since 1976 in Yerevan. There is the mechanics of what, and the philosophy of why. He has the mechanics down cold, and I provide the purpose. It looks simple, but it took me 50 years to learn exactly which words matter. Malinin stands alone in history as the only skater to land a quad axel in competition. He first unlocked that achievement in 2022. His trademark move demands 4.5 revolutions and a level of grit reserved for legends. Those brutal impacts tell him exactly when his edge failed or his rhythm lagged. The ice gives no handouts. Malinin, however, is more than willing to pay the bill in bruises. You gather more wisdom from the losses than the wins, Malinin mused, leaning back on the metal bleachers with his arms crossed. A black and gold Nike Air Diamond Turf Retro, a Deion Sanders classic from 1996, rested casually on the seat ahead of him. That is why, when the competition ends, I usually dissect the negatives first. Some might call it pessimism, but in my view, that is the secret to accelerating your growth. That mindset fueled his quantum leap, starting with the 2022 World Junior title, followed by a clean sweep of US Championships and Grand Prix finals. He proceeded to crush the competition at the 2024 and 2025 World Championships. He currently holds the top 3 free skate scores in history, a record built largely on his arsenal of quadruple jumps. The only jewel missing from his crown is Olympic gold, simply because he hasn't had a shot at the games yet. Starting this week, Malinin introduces himself to the masses, catching the eye of casual fans who only tune in once every 4 years. When the globe turns its gaze to Milan for this spectacular event, all signs point to Malinin outshining the entire field. He is the breakout icon of this cycle, the fresh visage of the sport. Born to Russian skaters, the 21-year-old Malinin already feels like he belongs to the future. His physical gifts mesmerize even the novice viewer, as if flight was his natural state. He shattered records by becoming the first to land 7 quads in one routine. That historic feat went down just 2 months ago at the 2025 Grand Prix final in Japan. And at the 2024 Grand Prix final, he became the first human to land quads in all 6 disciplines: salchow, axel, lutz, flip, loop, and toe loop in a single run. To top off his showmanship, there is a good chance he will throw in a backflip. Nothing screams dominance quite like sticking a backflip on a blade as thin as a laptop screen and treating it like a mere garnish to the performance. Yet, Malinin has scaled this peak largely because of it is this primal edge that binds him to the pantheon of sporting immortals. In a discipline defined by grace and sequence, Ilia Malinin is a purebred fighter, possessing the grit and iron will reserved for high-stakes warfare. He belongs to that rare breed who dance on the razor's edge of failure to chase immortality. Meet Ilia Malinin. Masked by a polished veneer and a smile as innocent as Christmas morning, a relentless fire rages inside him, mirroring the legends of the past. His raw ability is astronomical, yet the true allure of figure skating lies in its brutal intensity. Gifted genetics are merely the entry fee. They are not enough to rule. This game demands a cast-iron soul, a quality Malinin savors as he steps onto the ice, wiping his blades at the altar of destiny. The rise of the Quad God feels like fate. But make no mistake, this was forged in the fires of his own psychology. Legendary choreographer Shailin Bourne, herself a gold medalist in 2003, spotted the spark in him half a decade ago. From day one at the rink, she found him laced up and waiting on the ice before she even walked through the door. That hunger was immediate. We'd grind for 3 hours, and I'd suggest pushing just a little further. Without blinking, he'd go another 3 hours, never once unlacing his boots or questioning the workload. You wouldn't even see a flicker of hesitation on his face. No silent groan of a kid too shy to quit. Rewind 10 years, and the crushing weight of expectation was too heavy for his young frame. The arena terrified him. It wasn't the jumps that scared him, but the reckoning the moment he had to stack his worth against the world. That judgment rattled him to his core, leaving him trembling and white-knuckling the boards before taking the ice. Even the planet's best skater once shook with dread, proving that fear is just the toll on the road to glory. Nobody wakes up on day one feeling like LeBron James on skates. Legends are built, not born. Everyone starts at zero. Honestly, a year ago, I would have told you my body was my only weapon. But this season, I've undergone a complete psychological metamorphosis. It's a total evolution, not just in technique, but in spirit, energy, and the way I command the arena. It's a new game. Naturally, the jumps are the centerpiece of his mythos. The quad is hypnotic even to the untrained eye. The explosive launch, the violent rotation, the miracle of a safe return to Earth but gravity-defying stunts aren't the whole story. The kid from Virginia carries a heavy presence. When he walks in, the locker room goes quiet and laces stop being tied. You can hear it in the steady cadence of his voice when he talks about the future he doesn't hope for the throne, he expects it. He is sprinting toward his destiny, hungry for the trophies, the flashbulbs, and the burden of evolving the sport. He is here to drag figure skating out of the cryo chamber and into the heat of modern culture. In his mind, he belongs courtside with Snoop Dogg at the NBA Finals, turning heads and setting trends. Who else has the swagger to rock spandex one day and a Dodgers jersey with a bandana the next? Skaters have flavor too, Malinin laughs, tilting his head. The Milan and Cortina games could be the spark that reignites the Winter Olympics. The pandemic stripped the 2022 Beijing Games of their soul and spectacle. But the world has thawed, and if Paris was any indicator, the Olympic flame is burning hotter than ever. This creates the perfect storm for a transcendent superstar like Malinin to seize the narrative. He is an anomaly whose dominance can shatter the niche barrier with the cultural agility to handle the spotlight. He can frag enemies in Valorant or CS, Go, and then seamlessly pivot to a Louis Vuitton shoot in the same afternoon. He is engineered for the viral volatility of modern stardom. He is a different breed, notes Arutunyan, the coach who has molded American icons like Nathan Chen since landing here in 2000. His vision is unique. I don't mean his skating that's undeniable. But the way he sees the world, it's his character that sets him apart. He's wild, he's fun, and he's got a touch of madness, which is exactly what you want. His mother, Tatiana Malinina, skated for Uzbekistan and placed 8th at the 1998 Nagano Games, where Lipinski and Kwan battled for gold. Later that same year, she packed up and planted roots in Dale City, Virginia. She and her partner, Roman Skorniakov, had previously tried Russia after their home rink closed, but the fit wasn't right. Friends stateside convinced them to cross the ocean, promising superior ice time and better facilities. "I love it here," Malinina confessed in a 2002 interview. The journey was brutal, but making a life here was effortless. In 2000, she married Skorniakov, cementing the partnership that would eventually produce a prodigy. Skorniakov and Malinina had to hustle to fund their own time on the ice, earning their keep by mentoring the next generation of hopefuls at the SkateQuest rink in Reston, Virginia. When their son Ilia arrived in 2004, The family faced a branding issue. Nobody could wrap their tongue around his father's surname. As Ilia puts it, they opted for his mother's name to save everyone the headache. The duo boasts a staggering resume: 17 Uzbek national crowns and 4 trips to the Olympic Games, including a run in 2002 after relocating to the States. Despite their pedigree, they were desperate to keep their boy away from the rink, knowing the toll the sport takes and wishing for a gentler destiny for him. Their hope was that he would carve out a unique identity rather than just walking in their frozen footsteps. Breeding a world beater was absolutely never part of the blueprint. Tatiana Malinina made that crystal clear to the International Skating Union in November 2024, admitting they actively opposed the idea. We held off until he was 6.5, but his relentless begging to get on the ice eventually wore us down. Finally, we caved, agreeing to let him lace up purely for recreation and basic skills. Left to his own devices, the boy ignored formal lessons to bask in the rhythm and motion, choreographing his own routines on the fly. The legend of the Quad God kicked off with an unlikely soundtrack, the twangy notes of dueling banjos from the movie Deliverance. It started as a complete gag. "I just blast some tunes and make things up as I went along," Malinin remembers. Going pro was the furthest thing from my mind back then. He dabbled in gymnastics, soccer, and backyard hoops, realizing in hindsight that his raw athletic power was always there. On the soccer pitch, he'd leave spectators in awe by popping backflips to celebrate a goal. Sinking baskets from half-court drew cheers from his friends, though he remained oblivious to his own extraordinary physical potential. The only certainty was that gridiron glory wasn't in his future due to abysmal hand-eye coordination. While catching a ball was a disaster, the ice became his sanctuary, where he thrived and improved at a breakneck pace. It remained a hobby for ages, until his parents finally accepted his obsession, trading their resistance for parental anxiety. I can still vividly recall those early contests when he was just a small boy. Watching him skate as a 10-year-old junior was nerve-wracking, especially the moment he nailed his first double lutz. My heart nearly stopped that day, marking the start of a journey where we transitioned from parents to permanent coaches. His father, a veteran of 2 Winter Games with back-to-back 19th-place finishes, bequeathed Ilia a stoic calmness essential for navigating this brutal yet beautiful sport. That inherited serenity is the key to handling the crushing weight of stardom and the demand for perfection. It all stems from his father's lesson to maintain a grounded inner core, no matter the chaos. Conversely, his mother gifted him with an iron will and relentless grit. She instilled the idea that bravery is a habit, not just an act. Arutunyan, who jokingly refers to her as the boss, admires her steeliness. Tough love is necessary because the real world doesn't handle you with kid gloves. To conquer the globe, he needs a strong moral compass and the realization that greatness never comes easy. Expecting comfort at the summit is a delusion. Yet they never forced him. They allowed him to discover his own drive. Once he embraced the family trade, a lineage tracing back to his grandfather, they removed all barriers. His voracious appetite for the sport fueled an explosion of skill development. Landing a quadruple jump at 13 was a massive milestone, turning heads at that level, Malinin reflects. That was the turning point where I decided to buckle down and master a few more impossible jumps, leaving fear behind. His mother, however, is a bundle of nerves who skips his meets to avoid infecting him with her stress. As the stakes got higher, my anxiety levels went through the roof. He has a sixth sense for my fear, so I deliberately keep my distance. I'll train him at home, but I avoid the arena on game day because our connection is so tight he feels my tension instantly. Malinin traveled to Irvine seeking the guidance of Arutunyan and Born at Great Park Ice, the training ground of the Anaheim Ducks. There, Arutunyan commands an elite squad from his own private headquarters. This facility stands as California's massive ice jewel and ranks among the finest in the nation. It features 4 sheets of ice, 3 NHL-sized and 1 Olympic, along with dining, arcades, and vast play zones. The venue's reputation was strong enough to pull Malinin across the map for a grueling 5-day session, entering a world where Arutunyan preaches that comfort is the enemy of progress. This man deals strictly in cold, hard facts, even when they sting. For him, getting it 99% right is just a polite way of saying you failed. He's the type who would have taken a sledgehammer to every thanks for participating trophy in the room, a ruthless standard he brought to the table when he joined forces with Ilia Malinin in 2021. Arutunyan isn't in the business of peddling fairy tales. He deals in absolute clarity, forcing Ilia to grind until his raw skill finally caught up with that explosive athleticism and inner fire. Once that brutal training regime unlocked full command over his body, Malinin didn't just improve, he ascended to a tier of dominance nobody had ever seen before. Want to know his secret weapon? He never trips over his own ego. Most athletes let doubt creep in, getting paralyzed by the noise in their heads until they start playing it safe. That is simply not him. The kid is built different, armed with bulletproof confidence and a refusal to just drift along with the current. Rewind 4 years, and he was on the outside looking in, cut from the national squad while Nathan Chen was busy chasing glory in Beijing. If Malinin captures the crown in Milan, it secures a historic American legacy men's champions in consecutive games for the first time since the legendary era of Hamilton and Boitano back in 1984 and 1988. Make no mistake, the target is firmly on Malinin's back. He is popping quadruple jumps that don't even exist for other skaters, stacking the difficulty so high that the math makes him virtually untouchable. Denying him that top spot would require nothing short of a divine intervention. Yet, he refused to be pigeonholed as just an aerial acrobat. He has poured his soul into the artistry, sharpening his edge on the ice. That evolution demanded a deep bond with the narrative he is weaving. And that is exactly where the soundtrack takes center stage. Malinin and Bourne spend 12 months curating sonic landscapes, obsessively vetting tracks to find the perfect beat. Those 2 minutes and 40 seconds of the short program demand just as much surgical precision and theatrical flair as the gravity-defying leaps. At the 2025 World Championships, he stripped back the layers, skating to NF's running, to let the crowd see the raw human heart beating beneath the competitor. Shattering the quad record at the Grand Prix final wasn't enough. He did it to a custom mix featuring his own spoken words, a routine fittingly dubbed a voice. If the track doesn't speak to you, you can't speak to the crowd, Malinin insists, noting that the vibe fuels the engine. Fake it, and the spectators will smell the dishonesty a mile away. Heading into the Winter Games, his headspace is tuned exclusively to the frequency of Travis Scott. The kid who used to hype himself up with sicko mode knows exactly how to redline his energy, and catching the icon live was always a top-tier life goal. But the goalposts have moved now, he says. I'm not showing up unless we are sharing the stage. He chuckles, slamming a hand down as if staking his claim on the ground, manifesting these wild ambitions simply by daring to say them. He sees the infinite ceiling of superstardom. And when blades hit the frozen surface, he stands alone, ready to send shivers down the spine of the world. He is inches away from immortality, poised to become a national monument with all the clout that comes with the crown. All that is left is to take the win, a crushing weight that Malinin doesn't just tolerate, he craves it. Load it all on me, he declares. Tell me it is impossible, and watch me destroy your expectations. In the end, only the ice itself has the audacity to challenge the god of quads.